Do you know what the most common phrase in MMA is?
Jack goes down at 3.
I'm coming in there to finish this guy.
I want to win.
Because I'm going to get the fucking best out of you.
I treat Paulo like a bitch.
I'm going to kill
Get your face broke.
Kick your ass!
Just know I can beat.
Every fighter says it. They have to, because in a sport this brutal, stepping in with doubt is signing your own death warrant. But every once in a while, someone goes further. They don't just say they will win. They'll tell you exactly how it will happen, when it will happen, and sometimes the exact move that will end it all.
If he lets that right hand go.
And when it actually happens, when the fight unfolds exactly the way a fighter called, it bends reality. Because MMA is the most unpredictable sport on the planet.
Just picture him shooting, taking a sloppy shot.
One punch, one slipped, one mistake can flip everything on its head. So, when a fighter not only calls their shot but lands it, it doesn't just feel impressive, it feels impossible. It feels scripted in a world of chaos, written in stone inside a game built on uncertainty, almost supernatural.
But with Charles, I'm not gonna need to close the distance because he walks forward, and this is all I need to take his lights out.
Those seconds don't just make highlight reels, they become moments in time, proof that even in a world like this, there are fighters who don't just fight with skill, they fight with prophecy.
Fighting Business is one of my favorite new channels going right now.
Thank you to the Fighting Business, absolutely amazing.
The guy who made this a mark of excellence and awe, at least in MMA, was Conor McGregor. We had confident winners before him, but Conor McGregor didn't just say he was going to win a fight. He declared his victory, the round, and even the exact exchange well before the fight.
So I said I'd knock him out in the first round, and I knocked him out in the first round. You can call me Mystic Mac because I predict these things.
Look no further than this set right here. Dustin Poirier was Conor's first ever top 5 opponent, someone credible and well-rounded, but McGregor, who was fueled by competition and not cocaine back then, laid out a spoiler with Dustin sitting right next to him.
I don't give a about rankings. As far as I'm concerned, I'm number 1. And when Dustin's head clatters off that canvas, they'll realize pretty soon.
Dustin was too brittle, and the weight cut was too much. He was going to get cracked early, and it was going to be a first-round KO. Mark his words. Not too many people took McGregor seriously back then because, again, first top 5 opponent and levels to the game.
Through experience, all of this shit, I keep hearing it. I sit back, smile, go in and put him away in 1 round. And we will talk again on Saturday night.
Then McGregor went out there and made good on what he had said. Poirier did get cracked. He did go face down, and his head did end up clattering off the canvas. It was a first-round KO, as laid out months before. Conor had warned us about Mystic Mac way before the Topuria KO, and many didn't believe him, but this performance and this example turned a lot of doubters into believers. But Mystic Mac had yet to reach his final form. Conor vs Aldo, the biggest fight in featherweight history even to this day, was actually scheduled for UFC 189, International Fight Week 2015, until Aldo pulled out. There was a whole world tour to promote Aldo vs McGregor, and throughout this Aldo harassment campaign, McGregor kept repeating one certainty. Aldo, featherweight champion, pound for pound number 1, someone unbeaten for a fucking decade, was not going to make it out of the first round. By now, a lot of people had come to believe that Mystic Mac was real, and yeah, you could absolutely picture a scenario where McGregor, the hardest puncher at 145, knocked out Aldo, but would it be as brutal, as quick, as easy as how Conor swore it would be? Well, Conor saw something we didn't, a flaw and a pattern that Aldo himself didn't know.
I think the right hand could be, if you look at I felt when we stared down, I felt his right hand was twitching a little bit, but it was a subtle tell for me. He is ready to unload that right hand, but I feel that could be a downfall for him if he lets that right hand go. I will not be there.
On the night of UFC 194, while Aldo was backstage and in his personal hell, Conor was in a state of zen, and minutes before the walkout, he was practicing the exact same sequence, almost movement by movement, that he knew was going to get him the undisputed title. And we know what went down. It was amazing, mad, unreal. But in hindsight, the fact that McGregor didn't just predict the round and the finish, but previewed the 13-second KO for his teammates, and then went out there to replicate the same sequence for the world to see, makes it look like he was right in not just history, but his own destiny. And he reminded us every step of his way to glory.
word for word, you said, I felt when we stared down, I felt his right hand was twitching, which was a subtle tell for me. He is ready to unload that right hand, and I feel that could be a downfall for him. If he lets that right hand go, I will not be there. How do you predict these
if
things?
you can see it here, and you have the courage enough to speak it, it will happen. So I see these shots, I see these sequences, and I don't shy away from them.
But eventually, he kind of talked too much and ended up pissing off the wrong guy. Khabib was no Conor. He wasn't a striker capable of sparking people with one punch, and he wasn't a talker who wanted to get inside his opponent's mental space.
I don't give a about Conor. I think about only belt. I don't care who's my opponent.
He didn't give a crap about spoiling fights, so Mystic Khabib didn't predict that he was going to finish Conor, someone he detested, in a specific round. Instead, he promised something far more sinister. In his post-fight interview at UFC 205, after he had done smashing Michael Johnson, I still think he was trying to hype up a fight, at least somewhat.
I want to fight with your chicken, because this is #1 easy fight in lightweight division.
When he actually came face-to-face with McGregor and had to stomach his insults and disrespect, he toned down his volume, somehow got scarier, and instead of saying that he was going to smash Conor, he promised the beating of a lifetime. From smashing him to change his face, from finishing him to breaking him for good, from teaching him a lesson to making him humble.
Send me a message like location, I'm gonna come. Whatever you want, doesn't matter. Ireland, New York, Brooklyn or Moscow, doesn't matter. Tell me.
It wasn't some grand spoiler put out there to build a fight. It was a quiet promise made by the last kind of person you want to piss off. Khabib versus Conor was the biggest MMA fight of all time, so the pressure was doubled. But for once, Conor, who had admitted that the fight could go 5 rounds, looked uncomfortable, while Khabib, someone who had promised to change another man's life for the worst, looked comfortable, too comfortable with what he was about to do. It wasn't over in the first round, but instead, we witnessed systematic destruction on multiple levels. McGregor was taken down, held down, drowned, mauled, taught a lesson in respect, and in the end, he had to tap for his life. That wasn't a rear naked choke to put you to sleep, something Khabib could have gone for, but fuck that. This was a submission meant to cause the maximum amount of pain possible, and I'm sure every second in that felt like an eternity for Conor. That was the end of Mystic Mac right here, just as Khabib had sworn, not promised, predicted, or prophesized, sworn. You know the one thing I've noticed? This whole predicting the future thing goes really well for fighters who are pushed by the UFC. Makes it feel like they're destined. Sean O'Malley is, well, at least was before Merab did what he did, the biggest star in bantamweight history. He had the look, the flashy striking, the teenage fan base, and the UFC machine behind him, but he needed the world title to truly rise above it all, and to get that, he had to go through Aljamain Sterling. Now, on paper, this wasn't just a tough fight. It was a nightmare matchup. Sterling was the most dominant backpack in bantamweight history, a guy who could take your back and stick on there for 25 minutes. And O'Malley, a striker with a skinny frame and long legs, was exactly the type of body Sterling loved to grapple. Pause. But O'Malley never saw it like that. In his eyes, Sterling was a bad matchup, but far from an unsolvable puzzle.
I think it's striker versus grappler at its finest. My game plan is clearly to go in there and not let him take me down. That's how I win the fight. But keep it on the feet and putting his lights out.
He was a guy with a suffocating ground game, but he ran forward recklessly, and Sean had the perfect answer for it. In an interview with Daniel Cormier, Sean had a scary, accurate vision of how the fight would play out. Almost too accurate.
And I just picture him shooting, taking a sloppy shot, and landing the shots that I need to.
For one round, Sterling looked like Sterling, kind of pressuring and dulling the fight, but then halfway into the second, he made the mistake O'Malley knew he would. He lunged. Sean read it, slid back half a step, and countered with the exact left hand he had no doubt been visualizing for months. Clean, perfect, and surgical. And it landed as picture perfect as the one at UFC 194. Sterling went down, scrambling to recover, but with a few more punches, it was over. That one shot, that one prediction had just made Sean O'Malley the bantamweight champion of the world. And when the footage popped up later of O'Malley drilling that exact same sequence in training, practicing the same pullback counter over and over, it was impossible to call it a lucky shot. He'd seen it, he'd spoken it, and he made it real. So superstar. I see a lot of divine punches on this list, so let's switch it up a bit. Ian Garry, as cringe as he gets, is one of those fighters who's as much a believer in destiny as he is in his own skill set. He's been telling us since day one that he's going to be the next Conor, the next Irish superstar.
A wise Irish man once said before me, he stepped in this very cage and he said, "We're not here to take part, we're here to take over." And this is the takeover part 2.
UFC on ABC4 against Daniel Rodriguez. He gave us another reason to believe his words, ever so slightly. Rodriguez was no slouch. He was a tough, durable striker with heavy hands, someone who had been in dogfights and had never been KO'd. On paper, Garry was the slicker technician and the favorite to win, but the question was whether he had the power to finish someone like Rodriguez. Turns out he did. All of us expected a jab and leg kick fest, but Ian knew he was going to get the finish. In the build-up, Garry didn't just say he was going to win. He got specific. He saw something and told us exactly what it was.
I can tell you how I'm going to knock him out.
Do it. I want to hear it.
Right high kick.
The fight started. Garry went to work, picking Rodriguez apart, keeping him at range, making him bite on feints and spamming body kicks to keep his hands low. Halfway through the first, Garry stepped in, disguised it perfectly, and whipped up the right high kick he'd been promising all along. It wrapped around Rodriguez's guard, crashed on the temple, and dropped him backwards, and Garry landed a few punches to finish him off, exactly as he said. That remains the only KO loss on D-Rod's record. Garry didn't just land the strike he called, he landed it exactly how he said he would. Not a left hook, not a right straight, but a right high kick, word for word. On the subject of annoying fighters and brutal head kicks, here's a different example, and someone even more annoying than Ian Garry. Let's rewind. On the very same stage as Poirier and Conor, where Mystic Mac made his prediction and then actualized it, Daniel Cormier basically jinxed himself. I'll just play the clip. Have a listen yourself.
I know that there's one thing that I do that that has gotten me in trouble, if you want to call it trouble, that I've been in a fight before, and I haven't been in much trouble. So in the instance that I did get maybe a cut or something, I know it was because of that tendency he's talking about.
You're talking about the Josh Burnett fight, but
so maybe we are on the same wavelength. That will be figured out by September 27th. So don't think you're gonna kick me in the head with your left leg.
Cormier was laughing off Jon Jones, telling him straight up that he wasn't going to catch him with that left high kick.
Many tendencies, my friend. We all.
So do not think you're gonna kick me with the left foot in the head. So
he saw it coming, saw the setup, and called his shot in reverse. You think I'm just going to stand there and let you hit me with a head kick, John? Cormier knew his own weakness, a mark of a truly exceptional and cerebral fighter. This was back in 2014, the early days of their rivalry when the trash talk was endless and both men swore they'd break the other.
John, can you hear that, John?
You got your ass whipped today, buddy.
No, I didn't. You're a pussy.
Oh, yeah, you did it. I had you on
You're
your back.
such a little
Oh my God. I had you on your back. You suck, bro.
You're such a little
He thought he'd close the door on that particular weapon.
I will learn from my mistakes. That's the thing that I've shown over the course of my life. In mistakes, I learn from them.
Right.
But Jon Jones remembered, and the fact DC called him out didn't change anything for him. And when their saga reached its peak 3 years later, at UFC 214, he pulled out that exact move. Third round, DC pressing forward, leaning heavy, starting to slow down just enough, hands down to guard against those body kicks. And Jones launched the same head kick that Cormier swore would never land. It landed flush, and that was the beginning of the end. From there, it was vicious ground and pound. DC getting KO'd for the first time, but the most devastating part wasn't even the KO. It was the prediction being fulfilled in reverse. Cormier called his own doom years before it happened, and Jones, the man who promised he'd make him cry again, did just that.
No, man, I guess if you win both fights, there is no rivalry, so I don't know.
But does it count? So far, we've gone through Conor, Khabib, Garry, and poor Cormier, but I believe out of everyone on this list, Topuria might just be the most blessed. Confident to the point of arrogance, blessed with dynamite in both hands, and carrying himself like he was born for superstardom. And unlike the others here, he's not making his prediction against good fighters or even just champions. He's aiming at the exceptions, the legends, the guys we thought were untouchable. Take Max Holloway, the featherweight Terminator, a man who had eaten the best shots from Poirier, Gaethje, and Conor, and never once went out cold. If you tried to picture someone who couldn't be knocked out, it was Max. But Topuria Topuria didn't care.
I'm just saying the truth. This is really what I feel inside myself.
Yeah.
And from the bottom of my heart, I just feel that I'm better than him everywhere, and I'm gonna prove it. I'm not only talking. No, I'm gonna prove it on Saturday night. Here I am.
Not only did he predict to be the first man to KO Holloway, but he told us that in the first 10 seconds, he would point in the middle of the octagon and stay right there.
I already know what's gonna happen on October 26th. I don't need to wait till that day. First 10 seconds, I'm gonna point the middle of the octagon, and I will stay there. I want to give the best and the most excited 10 seconds in the UFC history to the fans. They deserve it.
From the opening bell, Topuria calmly walked to the center and motioned Holloway to meet him in the middle, to stand and bang like BMFs. Max, smart enough to know better, wanted no part of it, but Topuria knew it didn't matter. One perfect sequence, one clean shot. And Max Holloway, the man who had walked through hellfire from the heaviest hitters at 145 and 55, went out for the very first time. Moments like this are worthy of being on a t-shirt. And Ibuko knew it. They've dropped a brand new batch, better quality, better fit. They mold around your body much better than before. Plus, they got fresh designs from Aspinall to Oliveira to Topuria. So if you want to check them out, use code TFB for 5% off with the link down below. It wasn't just a knockout, it was destiny realized, and another legend added to Topuria's list. To add some context to make this even more impressive, Holloway had just outclassed a monster in Justin Gaethje, a man made of violence just a couple of months ago. And yet, here he was, down and out, and across from him, Topuria calmly sipped tea in the middle of the octagon, as if he'd known all along this was how the story would end. And after sparking the two GOATs at 145, Topuria moved up to lightweight, but nothing had changed for him. New division, new weight, and new killers in front of him, but the same Topuria, confident, arrogant, mystique.
He said, I've done everything I can do here. I'm ready to move up. And he vacated it. He said, I shouldn't be holding up anybody's opportunities. And, you know, it's always, I respect when guys do that.
He walked into 155 like it was his destiny, like the belt was already his, and the only thing left was to show up and collect it. His opponent for the vacant title was Charles Oliveira, the most lethal finisher in lightweight history. On paper, this was one of the scariest tests of Topuria's career, as Charles was taller, bigger, and dangerous everywhere. Despite all of that, nothing had changed. In fact, he even said this would be an easier fight. Why? Because Max made you hunt him down. Charles, on the other hand, was going to walk forward, come into range, and give Ilia exactly what he wanted.
What are you envisioning now as far as the way the fight goes?
I'm gonna finish him in the first round.
You say that to me like I say I'm going to get a coffee.
Yeah, because he walks forward. This is all I need. Like the time that takes me always to knock out my opponents is the time that takes me to close the distance, because they run away. They run, they move to side, and once I close the distance and I go with my combinations, I knock them out. But with Charles, I'm not gonna need to close the distance because he walks forward, and this is all I need to take his lights out. Like, just try to stay in the middle of the octagon. Just try to do that, and you are not gonna see me coming.
Topuria predicted it before a punch was thrown. He wouldn't need to chase Charles. Charles would bring himself to the slaughter. And guess who was right again? Round 1, Charles came forward like he always does, aggressive, fearless, and he paid for it. Topuria read him, planted his feet, and detonated one of those bombs in his hands, knocked him out in the first round. Not just hurt him, not just swarmed him, out cold. Charles Oliveira, the most dangerous lightweight alive, a man who had been dropped, rocked, and even finished before, had never been switched off like that. Blank stare, and lights out. That's the difference with Ilia Topuria. He isn't just beating people, he isn't just climbing the ranks, he's erasing legends. At this point, Topuria isn't just predicting the future, he's authoring it, blow by blow, fight by fight. And the scariest part, he makes it look too easy. Again, everyone says they're going to win, but it takes a different kind of madman to go beyond that, to not only announce victory, but to give their doubters and haters all the ammo in the world and then step in under the lights and prove them wrong.
He thinks that he has some opportunities, but the reality is that he has not.
That's not just confidence, that's prophecy. And that's what makes these moments feel bigger than sport, because when a fighter doesn't just imagine the future but speaks it into existence, it transforms a fight into something else entirely.
Sports Center's top 10 plays coming in at number 1. Sugar Sean O'Malley knocks out Aljamain.
And again, built on surprise knockouts, unpredictability, and chaos, there's nothing more powerful than this level of certainty. And that's why when it happens, when words turn into reality inside the octagon, it feels less like a fight and more like destiny.